We are Team TODO, and we are doing the BehaviorX video processing server. We have integrated a web API and video processing manager, which is also the backend side of, the video processing server that another team is working on. So this is our MongoDB database, which stores the location of our video requests. We're going to go ahead and show you our test coverage first. All green, 100%. 20%.
So we have 100% test coverage, and then we're going to go ahead and show you a few features we implemented this iteration. So one thing that we implemented this iteration.
I've got a bit of a trouble hearing, actually.
You want us to redo it?
Now I can hear you.
Okay. Well, that's our test coverage, 100% for all our files. And we're going to go ahead and show some of the features that we implemented this iteration. And so what we implemented this iteration, besides refactoring of code, was we implemented error logging with log files for our process manager, and also added timestamping for errors, so you can go back and see what happened at what time. And so we're going to show that off right here. So I'm going to go ahead and I went ahead and ran the API, and if I run Process Manager, there's going to be a video in our database called "This Should Fail" or something like that. That video processing algorithm doesn't exist, so it should return an error for us, which should be logged in our log file once we run this. So it retrieved requests, sent results, and I guess it's done. So if we go ahead and look at our log file, it says at the very bottom here, algo, this fails, not found in algorithm collection, and it gives us the time, 2019, and the actual time in hours. And this log file, it can be anything as specified by our configuration file. So if we go to our configuration file, you have it at the bottom here, the log path. You're just going to just write it to wherever you specify. And this logging mechanism also works for things like connection issues. So on API communication, if I exit the API and do npm run manager, it should, it's not going to display anything, but I'm just going to let it run a few times. But what it should end up happening in the logs file is it said here, request to yada 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 failed because connection was refused, and it gives the time and date. And so that's one of the things we implemented this iteration. And so we can go ahead and go over the project backlog and this iteration's additions.
Alright, so for this iteration, we did a lot of refactoring. We refactored a lot of our tests, making sure that we're getting rid of unnecessary variables. We also had a lot of variables that were not global, so what we did is we made a lot of global variables in there. We refactored code, same thing, renaming variables, making it more readable, improving efficiency a little bit. So we added the error log file configuration to the project, like Bhutan just described. That adding the file logging error for pipeline and API messaging is the same thing. We added timestamping, which is basically the date and time in which the error occurred. And we also worked on communication between our two Docker images.
That we set up the Docker file. This is just a very basic Docker file, but it runs on both the manager and the API, depending on what command you give it. But it's just the Dockerization of our code.
so that's everything that we've done for this iteration. So we did talk to our sponsor on Thursday, and what he basically the feedback he gave us was that he just wants us to provide access to the project to him, so giving him the code, and also writing a README on how to use our system. But other than that, he had no other question